They thought she was just another nobody. They were wrong. The moment she stepped into the glass-walled boardroom of Etheron Technologies, the air turned colder. She didn't wear Louboutins or carry a leather laptop bag, no statement jewelry, no blowout hairdo. Just a plain grey skirt, scuffed ballet flats, and a modest ponytail that swung slightly behind her as she walked in. In her hands, a worn-out folder hugged close to her chest like armor. Across the table, the panel of executives barely looked up. Someone exhaled loudly, then a sharp voice broke the silence. Did someone invite a temp to the leadership interview? It came from Vanessa Leeds, the company's sharp-tongued director of strategy. Mid-40s, crimson lipstick, designer suit. She didn't even try to whisper. The room chuckled. Then Brent Carver, a young VP with slicked-back hair and a smug grin, added, "Maybe she's here to clean up the coffee machine." More laughter. Phones buzzed. Someone snapped a photo. But the woman, Leona Hale, 32, didn't flinch. Her hazel eyes scanned the room calmly. She didn't defend herself. She didn't stammer. She simply approached the head of the table and gently placed her resume down in front of Vanessa. Vanessa didn't even pick it up. "Sweetheart," she said, dragging the word with syrupy disdain, "this is a leadership track. You're not even dressed for reception." Leona said nothing. That irritated Brent. "You think a Goodwill blazer and thrift store shoes make you qualified to lead here? This is Etheron. We're not building lemonade stands." More chuckles. Another exec, Callie Voss, leaned in. She was head of the AI division, respected but ruthless. "What did you study philosophy?" she sneered. "Sociology," Leona answered, simply. And that was the moment the room pounced. "Oh, great. So you know how people feel. That's perfect for running a machine learning division," Brent mocked. "I also minored in computer science," Leona added. Vanessa snorted. "A minor in tech and a major in soft skills. That's like bringing a feather to a sword fight." Jonas Reddick, a silver-haired senior advisor, leaned back in his chair. "Reminds me of the time someone tried to use Google Sheets to run an entire server farm." Even Dev Patel, the normally reserved head of infrastructure, smirked. "You're saying you applied for the director role with that resume?" Vanessa asked, finally lifting the single-page CV, glancing at it once before flicking it onto the floor like trash. Still, Leona didn't budge. She simply said, "I've built scalable systems that supported 10x user growth, optimized compute costs by 60%, and designed AI models now being used in public sector health data systems. I'm here because I solve problems no one else sees coming." The room was quiet for half a second. Then Brent burst out laughing. "Are we in a TED Talk right now?" Vanessa leaned forward. "Okay then, let's test you, since you're so capable." She snapped her fingers. An assistant walked in with a thick printout. 10 pages, logic frameworks, code architecture, troubleshooting for a live pipeline under pressure. She shoved the packet toward Leona. "No laptop, pen only, 15 minutes. If you're what you say you are, it should be easy." Leona took the packet. No complaint, no raised eyebrow, just a simple nod. Vanessa arched an eyebrow. "Oh, and one more thing." She took a black marker and scrawled the word "rejected" across the top page in thick strokes. Leona looked down, then calmly sat, pulled a pen from her pocket, and began to write. The room watched, snickering, murmuring. But then, a shift. Her hand moved quickly, with precision, no hesitation. Equations flowed, logic mapped cleanly, line after line. The room that had been brimming with arrogance suddenly grew quieter. Callie leaned in, squinting. "Wait, she's structuring a multi-node pipeline by hand." Jonas frowned. "That can't be right." Brent rolled his eyes, but didn't laugh this time. Vanessa checked her watch. 2 minutes left. Leona flipped to the final page, jotted down a series of terminal commands, and pushed the packet forward. "Done." Vanessa stared at her. "You think that's impressive?" She grabbed the papers and without even reading ripped them clean in half. Gasps. "That's what we think of your qualifications," she hissed. Brent grabbed a nearby glass of water and, without a second thought, tossed it across the table. The water splashed across Leona's blouse, soaking through the fabric. "Cool off, hero," he muttered. And before Leona could speak, Vanessa signaled security. "Escort her out," she ordered. 2 guards appeared within seconds. One took her arm. The other yanked the resume folder from her hands and threw it in the trash bin. As they dragged her toward the door, Vanessa added one last jab. "Try retail next time. That's your league." Leona didn't speak, didn't resist, didn't even glance back. She just walked, soaked, humiliated, but her spine still straight. And outside, as the glass doors closed behind her, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. A single call. "Hi, it's me. It happened again." The voice on the other end, calm, cold. "I'm on my way." It took just 9 minutes for the video to go viral. A junior dev from finance who'd been waiting near the boardroom for an unrelated meeting had caught the entire ordeal on his phone. The panel's laughter, the scrawled word, rejected, the water, the guards, and Leona Hale, soaked and silent, walking out with dignity. By the time Elias Hale's car pulled into the Etheron parking garage, the clip had already hit 10,000 shares, and inside the building, the mood had shifted. The executives didn't know it yet, but something was coming. Something seismic. Upstairs, on the executive floor, Vanessa Leeds sipped her latte and scrolled her phone casually. "People are so soft these days," she muttered, not even realizing her own voice had become a trending audio under the tag, number, "Who is she?" Callie Voss leaned against the wall by the elevator, watching the views tick up on her second screen. Her brow furrowed. "I think we might have gone too far," she said under her breath. Brent scoffed, arms crossed. "It's PR fluff. She'll cry, post something about resilience, get a few likes, and disappear." But he wasn't so sure anymore. Because downstairs, Leona wasn't crying. She was standing in the building's public tech lounge, towel over her shoulders, speaking softly to the facility manager. Her blouse was still wet, her shoes still soggy. But when she leaned over the terminal screen and typed in a quick line of code just to help the manager bypass a recurring security bug in the badge system, someone watching nearby raised an eyebrow. "That's not an ordinary user script," whispered a product lead who had been standing in line for coffee. "That's back-end level access." Word spread in whispers. She knows code. Not entry-level code. Real code. One of the senior engineers, Thomas Yu, led on the Athena AI project, was sent the boardroom footage. He watched the moment Leona scribbled 10 pages of solutions on paper, no hesitation, then paused the clip. Rewound it, watched again. His eyes narrowed. "Wait a minute. Is that a recursive anomaly flag protocol she's writing, by hand?" His jaw tightened. He recognized one of the sequences. Because he didn't invent it. She did. 5 years ago, during a closed-door collaboration with a nameless consultant who'd refused credit but fixed a critical flaw in Athena's logic framework. A consultant whose name had been kept off official files at her own request. Only Tomas knew her initials. L.H. Back in the boardroom, tension simmered. Vanessa began to feel the heat. Her phone buzzed texts from PR, legal, HR. Something was happening, but she couldn't put a finger on it. Then the CEO alert flashed across her screen. Emergency leadership meeting. Executive presence required. 5 minutes. Her hand froze mid-scroll. What the hell is going on? Brent walked over, frowning. Is this about that girl? No one answered. Because right then, the elevator dinged and 2 guards stepped out, silent, flanking a man in a perfectly tailored black suit. Elias Hale. CEO. Founder. The ghost behind Etheron's meteoric rise. Barely seen. Rarely heard. He wasn't supposed to be here. But there he was, towering, controlled, and flanked by silence so heavy it bent the air. And next to him Leona. Still in the same wet blouse, same skirt, same flats. Her ponytail hung damp but proud. But now, her presence was different. Not defiant, not angry. Solid. Undeniable. Vanessa dropped her coffee. Brent took a step back. "Sir," she began, her voice cracking. Elias raised a hand. Calm, flat, boardroom, now. No one argued. The room filled quickly, the same long table now lined with nervous eyes and twitching fingers. Shareholders appeared on screen, some remote, some present. Whispers filled the air, but no one spoke aloud. Leona sat beside Elias at the head of the table. Silently, her eyes scanned the faces before her, each one that had mocked her hours before. Their confidence was gone now, replaced with a nervous energy like dry grass before a wildfire. One of the investors leaned in toward the camera, curious. "Mr. Hale, we weren't aware of a meeting. May I ask what prompted this?" Elias folded his hands. Then he looked to Leona. "And back to the room. I asked this team," he began quietly, "to evaluate candidates for a critical leadership role, someone who could lead our new ethics and AI division, a role built to steer the next phase of our company. Etheron's future. He paused. But instead of assessing talent, you mocked it. He tapped the table. The wall behind him lit up security footage rolling. No edits, no cuts, just raw footage. Vanessa's voice echoed. Brent's laughter, the tearing of the resume, the water, the shame. And Leona calm, soaked but unbroken. No one said a word. Then, a voice cut through the air. It wasn't Elias. It was Callie. Sir, who is she? Elias turned to his wife, then looked back at the room. She is Leona Hale, my wife, the architect behind the core of Etheron's decision learning engine, the one whose ideas you've built your quarterly bonuses on, the systems you flaunt at conferences. She wrote them, the frameworks that landed us that federal contract. She designed them in her sleep. Gasps. Literal gasps. Someone dropped a pen. Brent turned white. Vanessa looked like her lungs stopped working. And Leona? She didn't even blink. You could feel it in the walls. The room wasn't silent, it was suffocating. The weight of realization pressed down on every shoulder. Elias remained still, his voice low but steady. You didn't just dismiss a candidate, you dismissed your company's co-founder, the mind behind the Athena engine, the architect of our ethical compliance infrastructure, the reason Etheron exists in its current form. He looked towards Jonas Reddick. Jonas, when we saved the servers from crashing during the 2020 load surge, who solved the code loop? Jonas swallowed. Two thought that was Dev's patch. Elias shook his head. It was hers. She was the silent force behind every last-minute fix, every patent we filed under my name for convenience, because she never cared for spotlight, only for substance. The boardroom had turned into a courtroom. No one dared speak. Vanessa Leeds looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her hand trembled on the table, the crimson polish on her nails chipped from tapping against the wood. But we didn't know, she whispered. Elias tilted his head. You didn't ask. He nodded to the tech team. A second screen lit up, side-by-side footage. One of Leona quietly solving the test they threw at her. And one of the original Athena architecture schematica notes in the margins, her logic diagram forming the foundation. Callie leaned forward, her mouth slightly open. Really? She built that? Thomas Yu, watching from the back, finally stepped forward. I remember her handwriting, he said. 5 years ago, she saved the Athena rollout in week 3. We never met her name, but I kept the diagrams. They were hers. Now eyes turned to Leona. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Elias continued. You tore up a test that was more complete and correct than anything your own team submitted. You called security on the person who designed the AI system you profit from. You humiliated the woman I trust more than anyone to lead this company. He locked eyes with Brent Carver. You dumped water on my wife. Brent looked like he was about to throw up. He glanced at the cameras still live, broadcasting to every investor, stakeholder, and senior partner in Etheron's global network. And you, Elias turned to Vanessa, marked her resume with rejected, with a Sharpie, while being recorded by a junior dev with 200,000 TikTok followers. Vanessa's face drained of color. Sir Eliassi didn't mean. You meant every word, Elias replied, voice like granite, because when people think no one important is watching, their truth shows. He stood up slowly. The room instinctively shifted backward. This isn't just about Leona. It's about culture, about rot. I've been absent too long thinking we had leaders with vision and compassion. Turns out, I have jackals in tailored suits who guard the gate not with intelligence but with ego. No one breathed. Then Elias nodded toward the tech team again. Play it all. And they did. The laughter, the taunts, Brent's smirk, Vanessa's marker, the sloshing of water, the phrase, try retail next time. Investor chat bubbles flared on screen. This is disgusting. Unacceptable? Divest if this isn't handled. Somewhere, someone clapped sarcastically through the live stream. Leona finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but razor sharp. I didn't come here to prove myself. I came here to contribute. But you don't recognize contribution unless it walks, talks, and dresses like you. That's not just a leadership flaw, it's a failure of imagination. Callie lowered her eyes. Even Dev looked away. I've been building quietly for years, Leona continued, and you thought you could test me with staplers and insults. She looked directly at Vanessa. You don't get to define my worth. Then she stood. So did Elias. He turned to the guards. The same ones who dragged her out, bring them back in. Two security guards entered the room, same ones from earlier. This time, they flanked Brent and Vanessa. "You're done," Elias said plainly. "Effective immediately, both of you are terminated. So are your bonuses, your shares, and your access." Brent stammered. "Please don't. This'll ruin me." Elias didn't blink. "You did that yourself." He gestured to the remaining panel. "Dev, Jonas, you'll face internal review. Expect interviews with compliance, but you get one more chance to prove you belong here." Then he turned to Callie. "I'm promoting you to Interim Director of AI Ethics. You will report directly to Leona if she chooses to stay." Callie nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." Vanessa tried to stand. "Security," Elias said. "Escort her out, through the main lobby." Vanessa's heels clicked frantically against the floor as the guards moved. Brent's chair scraped behind him. And as they were led out, Leona turned just once. Not with anger, with quiet resolve. No gloating, no revenge. Just truth. That's what shattered them. 6 months later, rain lashed the sidewalk in downtown Chicago. Rush hour, horns blaring, umbrellas jostling for space beneath gray skies. Near the Roosevelt Station entrance, a man sat on the curb, hunched beneath a torn coat, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Please, anything helps." His beard had grown unkempt. His once flawless pinstripe slacks were now fraying at the hem. Rainwater dripped down his nose. His fingers trembled. It was Brent Carver. Not long ago, he had a corner office at Etheron Technologies. Now, his LinkedIn profile was ghosted, his name flagged by every major recruiter. His reputation? Burned across social media as the guy who dumped water on a woman who wrote the system that made him rich. He looked up at every pair of heels that passed, desperate for recognition, but no one stopped. Until one did. Simple navy coat, closed umbrella, scuffed shoes. Leona Hale. She stood for a moment, watching him. Her ponytail was still neat, a little longer now. In one hand, she held a canvas bag inside, folders from the keynote she had just delivered at the Global AI Ethics Summit. The banner outside the convention center still bore her name. Brent squinted. He blinked, confused at first, then horrified. "You! It's you!" Leona didn't respond. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a single coin. A quarter, shiny, cold. She held it in the air between them for a second, then dropped it into his palm. It clinked. Brent flinched like it was heavier than it was. He stared at the coin in his hand like it burned. "Is this pity?" he muttered. Leona met his eyes, calm, steady. "No," she said quietly, "it's justice." And then she walked on. The moment passed, quietly, but the weight of it hung in the air. Inside Etheron, everything had changed. Vanessa Leedsfired, disgraced, and publicly condemned had tried to file a wrongful termination lawsuit. It was laughed out of court. The footage, the signatures, the social media backlash, none of it could be scrubbed. She'd since vanished from the industry. Jonas Reddick had taken early retirement. Quietly. No farewell party. Callie Voss, now officially the director of AI ethics, had begun building a new culture at Etheron. Her first action? Launching the Hale Initiative, a program designed to identify hidden talent inside and outside the company, especially among candidates overlooked for not looking the part. And Leona Hale? She never changed her style, never showed up in designer heels or power suits. But her quiet presence now carried a storm. In meetings, executives leaned forward when she spoke. In boardrooms, her opinions steered direction. And in interviews, when junior applicants arrived nervous and uncertain, Leona would often sit beside them for a moment, offer them water, and say, "Don't let what they see define what you are." Sometimes they didn't even realize who she was until much later, and that was exactly how she wanted it. One afternoon, a young woman fresh grad, nervous, wearing payless, flats walked into an Etheron interview and was seated across from Leona herself. She fidgeted, adjusted her skirt. "I'm sorry," she blurted. "I know I don't look like much." Leona smiled gently. "Good," she replied. "That means they'll never see you coming. Greatness doesn't always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it walks in quietly, takes every insult, and lets truth do the talking. So the next time you see someone who doesn't fit, don't laugh. Because they just might be the one who built the whole thing. Dignity doesn't shout. It stands to leaven soaked in water, covered in ink, or walking alone. Don't judge by appearance. Brilliance often wears simple shoes. Cruelty reveals more about the speaker than the target. The quietest one in the room may be the one writing the future. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it just listens and waits. You don't need to scream to win. Just stand. Let the world watch. Have you ever been underestimated because of how you looked, dressed, or spoke? Tell us your story in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more true stories where dignity wins and cruelty falls.